What is up, underdogs? What is up, IDP Army? What is up, fantasy football fanatics? It's me, your man, Jordan Reigns at 50 Shades of Drunk. If you are on Twitter, the Cardi B of IDP. I'm sitting across from the man, the myth, the legend, Dave Kluge of Football Guys. Dave, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Getting excited about this. This is gonna be a little bit different than last week. Last week we had the room, pre-selected, and now today we're just going live out to our Twitter followers to see who wants to join us. So excited to see who hops in this room with us and who I could steal some money from this week.
Yes, sir. We just threw this draft out into the ether. As soon as it fills, we are going to go. So I'm going to hit this intro and we're going to get it popping. All right. If this is your first time watching, this is the Underdogs. We do a weekly draft, sometimes head to head, sometimes we throw it out with the group. And we talk all things fantasy football on the Underdog platform. So I play fantasy football a lot on Underdog. I love the weekly, the single game slates. But today we're going to do a 6-man draft. If you're watching the live stream, Dave just posted that on my Twitter at 50 Shades of Drunk. It should be probably the first comment under this video. So go click on that if you want a chance to win some money off Dave or I. But Dave, how you doing today?
Doing good. Feeling real good after last week. You and I did two of these 6-man drafts, and that was all I did for the entire week. I did two 6-man drafts and went 2 for 2 in first place. So
I know you won. You won both of them. I saw that early in the week. It was a good week last week of football. I can't believe we're already at week 11. There's been some great upsets. It reminds you, that any given Sunday in the NFL. But I don't know about you, but I've done a few drafts already of the 6-man for this upcoming Sunday's tournament. I also did a couple for tomorrow night's game. But what games are you kind of looking at this week? In DFS that you're going to be targeting.
No, I haven't had a chance to really dive too deeply into it yet. Weirdly enough, and I know this isn't on the slate, I think that tomorrow's game is going to be a blowout. There's so many questionable injuries in that New England Atlanta game that I'm expecting it to be a little bit high scoring. And you don't usually predict that when looking at Thursday night games, but something about this game just has a different feeling to it. The both offenses have been running pretty hot this week, so I really like that. But I think if we're looking at overall games that we're targeting, at least for Sunday, that Minnesota Green Bay matchup, I think that's going to be an absolute shootout. Aaron Rodgers, he looked angry coming back, and an angry Aaron Rodgers is definitely something that you should be a little bit concerned about. Dalvin Cook has just made a career on running through the Green Bay defense, so that's one that I could see really being a big shootout. If you can somehow stack that game where you get AJ Dillon and Dalvin Cook, I think that is one heck of a running back duo to have, because I think that there's going to be a lot of rushing happening in that game.
Yeah, AJ Dillon, it sucks that Aaron Jones is not having the year we wanted or projected, but it really kind of is opening the door for AJ Dillon season. Not this year, next year probably, but even for a few games this season as a spot start. I know I'm looking forward to starting him on a couple of dynasty teams this week. I actually had to turn down a first round draft pick for next year for him. I wanted to take it. First round pick for next year is pretty good, but I'm on the hunt right now, and AJ Dillon's in a good spot for me to get a win this week. So I think I'm going to ride it out. Maybe that trade comes back later this offseason or in a week or two. We'll have to just see. But loving AJ Dillon this week. I do love that you're onto that. I think the game that I'm going to try to target, and I've kind of looked at this a little bit, is
KC
this.
in Dallas,
Yeah, KC
that's the
Dallas. It's
chalk
just
one.
like it seems like it's going to be chalky, but it has all the makings of everything you want. You have superstar receivers, superstar quarterbacks, a superstar running back. You have a superstar tight end. You have good offenses, mediocre to middling sort of defenses. So it's got everything you want to blow up for DFS. Obviously, you're starting everybody in season long, but this is a chance to go get some players you don't have in season long or in dynasty and play them.
Yeah, I mean, AJ Dillon is a guy. You and I, we've been following each other for quite a while. We've been connected for a little bit, but this offseason, man, I was all in on AJ Dillon. I got a lot of flack early in the offseason when it looked like Aaron Jones was going to be leaving Green Bay. When I had AJ Dillon ahead of DeAndre Swift in my 2021 redraft rankings. And right now, obviously Aaron Jones is the guy there, but prior to that contract, I thought that AJ Dillon was primed for, a top 10 season easily with the Green Bay Packers. And now here we are with no Aaron Jones. AJ Dillon is finally getting that opportunity as a lead back. And wouldn't you know it, his consensus ranking last I checked on Fantasy Pros was RB7 heading into this week. So I
Wow.
mean, we know what AJ Dillon is. He is a big, fast bruiser. He can run between the tackles. He can catch the ball. He can do a little bit of everything. I hate to make the Derrick Henry comp because it's almost too easy. But when you look at a guy with that size and that strength and that speed, I don't know who else you can really compare him to. So I am a huge AJ Dillon fan. Absolutely love him this week. Unfortunately, though, I don't know if next year is really going to be it for him either because Aaron Jones comes back on that 2-year deal that they signed him on this offseason. So it's not like he's just going to show up and totally have the room to himself
Yeah.
next year. But if you're looking way far ahead in Dynasty, the 2023 season, I think AJ Dillon is going to be an absolute stud down the road.
Yeah, he looking good this week. I'm definitely in on him. 2 years ago it was he or Zach Moss. That was kind of the round two running back for Dynasty. I took about a 50-50 split, and I'm a lot happier with the Dylan shares, even though they haven't necessarily been as playable. I'm a lot happier with those right now. They're accruing more value. Zach Moss value is definitely not accruing right now. So took a look here at some of the situations we have, the inactives coming into the week, or not inactives, just like the practice reports and stuff. Josh Jacobs looks like he has a knee situation, limited in practice. I think that's kind of been part of the course for him. Marquise Hollywood Brown thigh did not practice today, something to watch. What is this deal with Lamar Jackson? That's the other game that I'm kind of looking at, is the Kansas or the Chicago versus Baltimore game, more obviously on the Baltimore side. But David Montgomery looks like he's primed to have a good game this week. Lamar Jackson's, I'm thinking he's going to rush for, 60 plus kind
120
of the floor.
easily.
Exactly. And he's going to throw for a lot because y'all secondary is just not that good. Sorry. Roquan Smith's your best player. He's going to hold down the middle of the field, but that's going to leave things open outside for Lamar Jackson.
Hey, you know me. I've been a big Alec Ogletree fan, and he has not been great all around, but he has been phenomenal in coverage this year. It's pretty tough to deny that. And then Jalen Johnson is stepping up. He got torched by Mike Evans. There was that one game with Mike Evans that really, really exposed Jalen Johnson. But outside of that, he has been just about as steady as they come. So um, I think this game might be a little bit more lower scoring than you're anticipating. But like you said, man, it's kind of funny that people are starting to clown on Lamar Jackson now because he got shut down in Miami. Like, it was a road game on a Thursday night. I don't know how high your expectations were. Yeah, it was a good matchup or whatever. But okay, he struggled a little bit. But are we going to pretend like he isn't still the best quarterback in fantasy football right now? I mean, with the rushing floor he provides, with the upside he has as a passer, I'm not even thinking about fading Lamar Jackson. He is still very, very firmly my QB1 this week.
Ooh, QB1. It's funny. Last week, I want to share a quick little anecdotal story about rankings. We talk about rankings all the time, Dave and I do. Dave's a great ranker, by the way. Smash subscribe, smash like. Make sure you follow Dave. His rankings are really good. He's going to finish very good this year. My IDP rankings are pretty good. My offense is a little bit sketchy sometimes, but I'm trying. I'm learning, okay?
I gotta
But
say, my tight ends are trash though. I checked
yeah.
my updated out of 191 people. I am 174 on tight ends, crushing running backs, crushing wide receivers, defense kickers, all that. But man, I cannot figure tight ends out to save my life.
the But where I was going to go with that was every week, you get a new chance to push forward in fantasy football and make calls. And last week the consensus was Lamar Jackson, quarterback one. I know that because on Thursday night, right before kickoff, I went on and I was like, I usually don't make Thursday night adjustments, but I just had a feeling. And I went and looked, and he was number one, and I moved him down a couple of spots. It was kind of a gutsy thing to do, I felt, because it looked like a smash spot. He ended up not having a great game. It was just okay, but it was not the kind of game that we thought Lamar Jackson would have, which is another reason I'm doubling down on him this week, because I think he is going to come back. And I'm sorry. I feel bad because you're a Bears fan. You got to be sitting there like, man, come on, shut up. But I think he's going to put the Bears, put the hurt on the Bears. So, but this is also a huge opportunity for Justin Fields to do something, which he kind of, he's shown that he's got a little something there. So uh, if anything, this year of the NFL has been very interesting. A lot of the matchups, I think the matchups have been really great so far, especially for the time of year teams have been coming up against each other. So yeah, I'm excited for that matchup. I think Lamar and Mark Andrews is going to be the my tournament stack this weekend if I
Oh,
can't get Dak and CD or Tyreek and Mahomes.
I love Mark Andrews, but man, I do not know about him being somebody that you go out and target because that's really where the Bears' strength in their defense is in the middle of the field. You already called out Roquan Smith. I talked a little bit about Alec Ogletree, and those are the guys that are going to be on Mark Andrews. So I think that if they're going to be able to get it done through the air, it's going to be on the edges when they're able to hit Rashad Bateman and Marquise Brown. But I don't know if Mark Andrews is going to be able to do much against this Bears defense with how strong their linebacking core is. So I like where your head's at, and I do like Lamar Jackson a lot this week. But I think that this is going to be a bigger game. Rashad Bateman is actually the one, and especially in a head-to-head draft, I'm not looking that deep, but I think Rashad Bateman is the guy that can really have a big game here because Jalen Johnson and Eddie Jackson, I think that they're going to do a decent job containing that deep ball from Marquise Brown. Roquan Smith and Alec Ogletree are going to do a decent job containing Mark Andrews, and then that leaves Rashad Bateman as the guy who isn't going to have anybody covering him. And we've seen some flashes over the last few weeks, but I think this is the week where we finally see Rashad Bateman pop and just have himself a huge game.
I was gonna say that's if you're in a GPP or you're trying to differentiate in a tournament. I really like Bateman this week because, like you said, he hasn't popped yet. But every time you see him on screen, you can tell he's close. He's close. Lamar's balling. The whole team's balling. This is a great bounce back spot. So, all right, we kind of talked a little about the slate. Let's go ahead and try to get this draft up and running. I think we're going to go head to head today. We kind of switched it up. I sent you a new link on Underdog. Did you get it? I sent it on Twitter.
I am, yep. I am sitting in the draft room right now. I'm waiting for you to
Okay,
pull it
okay.
up
I
so I
have
can get
to. I have
started.
to. Oh, okay. If I join, it's going to kick it off. So I'm going to get the share screen up, and then we will get this party started.
Now you have already joined, and it's me. Once I join, then we hit that
Oh,
1 minute countdown.
oh, okay, okay. All right, let's get this bad boy rolling.
Let's do
I
it.
think. Bada boom, bada bing.
Now is the moment of truth where we find out who gets the 101. Now, who are you taking? Well, you got the 101, so talk about it. Who are you taking first overall? Is it McCaffrey the
All
guy?
right. It's funny. Last week, McCaffrey on the slate should have been the 101, was not. For whatever reason, he was kind of pushed down there, which I thought was funny. This week, he seems very chalky. But at 101, I am going to take Christian McCaffrey because, I mean, even last week when Cam stole both of his touchdowns, he was still put up 21 points, which is an amazing week for most running backs.
Yep.
And that was a down week for Christian McCaffrey. You know what I mean? Like, because we know that there was meat on that bone. You tweeted out something, I think, about Christian McCaffrey
His
and his
splits with
goal
and
line
without Cam
usage
Newton.
since with and without Cam Newton, right?
Yep. Yeah, that kind of blew my mind. His touchdown rate without Cam Newton is over 50% higher than it is with Cam Newton. When you look at his splits, he's averaging almost 7 points more per game with quarterbacks that are not Cam Newton. Even if you take away that entire rookie season where he was still kind of getting up to speed, he still is averaging almost 3 fewer points per game with Cam than he is with anybody else. So go ahead and make your first overall pick with Christian McCaffrey now that we have just sat here and talked about how he is due to regress with Cam Newton back in Carolina.
I know. It really is a terrible feeling knowing that. And again, I watched it in motion last week because I took Christian McCaffrey cheaply last week, and I watched Cam get 2 touchdowns on 2 touches.
Yeah. Now, my running back one for the week is not Christian McCaffrey because of the things that I just called out there. My running back one for the week is Dalvin Cook. So I will gladly take that one here. And it's kind of funny, I was clowning a little bit. The consensus says AJ Dillon as the RB7 overall this week. But when you look at these projections, Underdog has him as the RB4 in this slate. I don't know if you see that sitting right underneath Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah,
So I thought about
there he
doing
is.
that, the Dalvin Cook, AJ Dillon stack that I had mentioned. But right now, Jonathan Taylor is red hot. And
Yes.
so I'm going to get my Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, 1-2 punch right there and just be good with running backs for the remainder of this draft.
All right. I am going to, since you're going to let me, I'm going to take Tyreek Hill here. And I'm going to take Devontae Adams. I'm going to take the 2 chalkiest high-end wide receiver. Although Devontae Adams really has not, the targets are there, but the yards, touchdowns, it's a weird year, I'm gonna
Mhm.
pivot in real time because I already had my eye on him, even though well, I'm gonna take Joe Mixon. I think we're kinda
Ooh,
sleeping on Joe Mixon. He's one of those guys who gets talked about a lot in the offseason, but when he's doing it, nobody really cares. I'm in.
yep. All right. Well, if you're gonna take, um, let Devontae Adams drop to me here, I will gladly take Devontae Adams. And then, I know you, Jordan. At this point, I know who you got your eyeballs on, and I haven't had this guy once so far this season. So, might be a reach, but I just want that positional advantage right here. So I'm taking Travis Kelsey as well. This is the first time I've had
Ooh.
Travis Kelsey in a head to head all season.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to go ahead and stack up Tyreek with Patrick Mahomes. Again, I'm just going to take the chalk. I really think this game is going to be a blowout. Now, I kind of have a few options here. I can take Ezekiel Elliott, get in on that same game. I can take Wonder Boy, Mr. Reception King DeAndre Swift, or I can take a look at some of these other wide receivers that are here. I
Debo.
think that I am going to go with Stephon Diggs. He had his big game this last week, finally. Um, and I think it's trending the right way the rest of the way. So
Well, you really I was trying to talk into Debo there because I really wanted to get the Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stack that has treated me so well this entire season, but you sniped that one from me. So I'm just going stackless, just going out there raw this week. Taking Lamar Jackson. I am not going to be taking Marquise Brown as much as
love
I
that.
like him. Just going Lamar Jackson on his own, confident with the rest of the guys that I have. And then Debo Samuel, man, this dude has been an absolute dog. He was one of my favorite guys in the offseason. He's been one of my favorite guys since he got drafted in the league. And I mean, he is the focal point of that offense right now. So can't be upset about having Debo on the squad.
Awesome, nice. I actually, whenever we finish this up, I do want to talk to you in particular about Debo. Like I said, I am going to continue to target. I want to get this Mark Andrews action because I want to get in on Lamar. I think he's having a good year. I think and he's kind of being underrated. I feel like Mark Andrews all offseason was underrated. He's even underrated now. I don't understand it. He's tied to one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So my final team on the Underdogs for Week 11, head to head against Dave Kluge. I got Patrick Mahomes, I got Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, and Mark Andrews. If I had to say a player that I'm worried about on this team, I'll be honest, it would be Stephon Diggs. Just because this season has not been, it's been more to what Stephon Diggs has been his whole career versus what he was last year, which is a high end wide receiver two, a low end wide receiver one with weekly wide receiver one upside. It's kind of a unique spot to be in the NFL, honestly, as a guy who we know can do it, but for all the complete and total alpha that he is, we haven't seen it be week in, week out, except for once in his career. But everybody else I feel rock solid about. Even Joe Mixon, somebody I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. In DFS this week, he gets the Raiders. I don't understand why he's kind of not ranked higher. 2 23-point games, I believe, in half PPR coming into this week. Joe Burrow's on fire. That team looks good. Las Vegas is in total shambles. They go up 2 scores. They're just going to take their soul running the ball. So let's take a look at Dave Kluge's team. All right, Dave, what do you got? Walk us through these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson, my QB1 this week. It's going to be tough watching him just stomp all over my Chicago Bears. But, Lamar Jackson, I don't think there's a more fun player to watch in the NFL right now. I mean, this dude is just absolutely electric. He was my QB1 heading into the season. He's been my QB1 almost every single week so far. Chicago's defense is all right, but I don't know if they've got anybody that's got the speed to really contain Lamar Jackson. I mean, as good as Roquan Smith is, they can't have Roquan Smith just spying on Lamar the whole time. That just kind
Yeah.
of defeats his purpose of being a ball hawk. So Roquan Smith's going to have to move around, and I think Lamar Jackson is going to find a lot of room to run here. Dalvin Cook's my RB1 for this week, so that was a pretty easy one. Jonathan Taylor's my RB2 this week, also a pretty easy one. Christian McCaffrey, the guy that you took first overall, is my RB3 on the week. No disrespect meant towards him, but there's some young bloods in the league right now that are just playing better than him. Devontae Adams is my wide receiver one this week. Debo, man, I don't know what we can say about this guy. He is a younger, better Cordero Patterson. Everyone's going goo goo gaga over Cordero Patterson and the way that he lines up in the backfield and lines up in line and lines up out wide and lines up in the slot and does all that. Well, guess what? So does Debo Samuel, and he's 5 years younger, and he's faster, and he's stronger, and he's better after the catch. I mean, Debo Samuel has just come on as an absolute stud this year, and that matchup against Jacksonville it wouldn't surprise me if he goes for
Oh.
200 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then, I mean, what more can I say about Travis Kelce? I think the talks about his demise were greatly exaggerated because he looked just like the old Travis Kelce that we have grown to love over the last couple of years just last week. So I think he is back.
I love it. I love it. So Debo, let's go ahead and shift out of this week. What are your thoughts on Debo in Dynasty? Because I almost tweeted. Sometimes you have to just tweet provocative, nonsensical bullshit. And I almost did that the other day, but I didn't. But I was gonna say, Debo Samuel is a top 3 Dynasty wide receiver. I mean, he's not right now, but when I look at him, I mean, I don't see why that's not going to be a more prevalent thought process moving forward this next year. He's literally in his prime. I think he's 24 or 25.
Yep.
He's one of the best receivers in the league right now. And he's not even one of the best receivers in the league. He's one of the most unique weapons in the NFL right now. I mean, he
The
only
wide
had 5
receiver one that
receptions
could
the other
goal
night.
line carries.
Yeah, I mean, he's a running back. He's a wide receiver. I mean, he's a fullback. I mean, the guy is he's a tight end. I mean, he's everything. He's built like a fire hydrant, except he's like, I don't know, is he 6'2", 6'3"? And just the way he moves, if you're a movement guy or you're involved in sports, whatever, like you can just see athletes move differently. Even
Mhm.
within athletes, Debo Samuel moves differently. I
He's a
mean,
heavy dude that's light on his feet. You don't see a lot of those.
and then I would want to bring it even to more, even more meta shit. Like it's 4th and 6, and Kyle Shanahan with
Calls
Jimmy
it slant.
Garoppolo. He still has Jimmy Garoppolo, ladies and gentlemen. He says we're gonna fucking go for it. And who's he
Mhm.
throw it to? Debo Samuel. What's he do? Breaks
Breaks
3
3
tackles
tackles.
and
He
goes
just catches the
40 yards
ball.
for a touchdown. Every other coach in the NFL punts that ball with Jimmy Garoppolo. But you know
Mhm.
what? Kyle Shanahan looks through Jimmy Garoppolo and he sees Debo Samuel. And he says, "We can do this, guys. We got this."
Yeah.
So my
Or
question is,
But let's look in that same game. They're sitting at the 2-yard line. You've got Eli Mitchell, who has just been like picking up positive yards almost every single time he touches the ball. You got George Kittle, one of the best red zone receivers in the NFL. And what do? You line Debo up in the backfield and you give him a zone read. You just hand the ball off to him and let him make a play. He had the option to take that ball wherever you want. He caught the
Mhm.
ball, immediately saw the opening to the left, and then ran all the way to the perimeter and outran the entire defense to take it in for a touchdown. I mean, top 3 dynasty asset. It's spicy. I'm not gonna lie
Wide
with you. I think it's
receiver,
a little
not
bit.
no overall
Yeah,
asset, but I think this offseason we're going to see a lot of thought pieces. We're going to see a lot of spreadsheet wonder boys that are going to pull all of his short yardage stuff and they're going to combine it with all of his long deep stuff and his EPA crap, and they're going to say he's it. He's the secret sauce to fantasy football.
no, sir.
So
Those
my
are
thought
the same
is
people that faded him this offseason. The analytics community does not
they
like
hated him.
Deebo
They
Samuel.
hated the guy. And you know what's
He's
crazy?
got a
I actually
low
tweeted this.
ADOT. His
Yes.
his targets per game. Yeah.
Oh, the thing was, everyone that said that looked at the year before last, 2019. They didn't look at his rookie year. His rookie year looked a lot like this
He's a
year.
beast.
Deep targets,
Mhm.
making people like hurt when they hit him. Like 2 years ago, whenever the ADOT was really low and everybody said it was all terrible. I mean, they were looking at selective stuff. You know what I mean? Because all the evidence that he was who he is was there. Um,
You know what doesn't show up on a spreadsheet? That when this guy gets the ball in his hand, he is gonna hit you so freaking hard that the next time he has a ball in his hand and he's coming at you, you're gonna second guess dropping your shoulder. And you see that. Like he's a guy kind of like Derrick Henry, where as the game progresses, that's when he gets better and better and better. Like
I
you
want
don't see him just showing out in the first quarter, blowing the team up. It's as the game progresses, as the game gets more and more physical, as defenses started to wear down a little bit, that's when you see him start breaking tackles and ripping off those huge runs. So
Look at
um,
look at this. This was his touch wise. I mean, for all the usage guys and all the utilization guys out there, utilization wise, this was his worst week of the season. But
mhm.
points wise, it was this third best week of the season. I mean, this guy had 5 touches as far as receptions are concerned. And what do you have? I can't scroll over for whatever reason. Yeah, first carries. But what do you have? 4 or 5 carries? I mean, this
Yep.
is just wild. He had 5 targets, a touchdown. He has like 7 touchdowns this year, too. It's something crazy.
I believe his worst carry of the day went for 4 yards. Like, every time he touches the ball, he is just picking up 8 to 12
Look
yards
at
when he
these
gets the
yards per
handoff.
catch: 21, 15, 10, 19, 19. I mean, this looks like Mike Evans,
And
28, 12,
haters will tell you it
19.
is unsustainable. That's
So
what you hear from a lot of the people out there that just, you know,
25
that
years old. This is only his second year. I guess this is his third year. Yeah.
I can already see the narrative spinning this offseason. Well, Trey Lance is going to be the quarterback, and Trey Lance is going to run the ball, and it's going to make it harder for Debo. And going into 2022, I think
Look at
Debo is
these
going to be a huge
targets.
value yet again.
These targets 12, 8, 10, 12, 9, 11, 9, 9. That's like a wet dream. That's a
Yeah,
fantasy football wet dream.
yeah. Doesn't get
So
much
I
better than
think,
that.
get ahead of the market. Listen, if you're watching the show, it's week 11. Coogie and Reigns are on it first. Debo, top 3 dynasty wide receiver. Who says no? Who says
I
no?
mean, I say no because let's just talk about it for a second. You know, I love Debo Samuel. You know that I'm one of his biggest fans out there, but you're not putting him ahead of Jamar Chase, right?
True. True.
You're not putting him ahead of Justin Jefferson, are you?
That's tough. I probably couldn't even put him ahead of CD Lamb either. But there's somebody
DK
that had
Metcalf,
balls
AJ
to do it.
Brown. I mean, there's a lot of good receivers out there.
Yeah, but
It's and this is what so this is something that I say all the time when people say like, "Hey, I'm looking to get into fantasy content. How do you recommend I start?" And the first thing I say to everybody is do rankings. Even if you don't share rankings, even if you never publish your rankings,
it's
just getting in
so
the
tough.
practice of doing rankings because it's really easy to say, "Hey, this guy's an RB1 this week," but it's not so easy to, fit him into RB1 when you're ranking everybody. And
Yeah.
that was something that I had a fault with last year. You know, last year was my first year full time in the NFL industry, and I wasn't doing weekly rankings. And I would say stupid stuff like, "Hey, Devontae Booker's an RB1 this week." And this year, I wanted to say like, Deonta Foreman is an RB1 this week. But then once you actually sit down and start working through the rankings, it's easy to say that he can be an RB1. It's really hard to put him in that RB1 tier though. So the same thing with Debo. It's easy to say that he's a top 3 receiver, but I think realistically, it's probably closer to like five,
He's
five top
top
5, top 7.
he's hitting that he's hitting that top 15 area. The thing is
No
we're
doubt.
starting you're starting to have to move guys out. I mean, think about this. This time a year and a half ago, Michael Thomas was the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. The
Yep.
dude never even played a snap after that. Okay,
Juju
so
the
you
year
have to
before.
kind of play the market too.
It was
Um,
Juju the year before, wasn't it?
yeah, don't even get me started. So that's kind of why I'm like, I just want to get way, way, way ahead of this
I
Debo
like it.
Samuel thing.
So here's the list of guys that I say it's really tough to put Debo Samuel ahead of: Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb. I think
DK
after
Metcalf
those,
has been very disappointing to me. I'm just gonna be real.
he has been, but Russell Wilson is not the same Russell Wilson. And I'm a DK Metcalf hater. You saw my article in the offseason. You saw how
Yeah.
much flack I got for saying, hey, maybe DK Metcalf is more of a boomer bust wide receiver two than he is the overall wide receiver one. But I think from a dynasty standpoint, that guy's ceiling alone makes him so desirable. But I think that's kind of the list. What about Cooper Cup? I mean, Cooper Cup,
Oh,
27
come
years
on, get
old.
out of
Are you putting
here.
him ahead of Debo?
I would put Debo ahead of Cooper Cup.
I would too. I just
Let
kind of
me
wanted to
see
throw it
here.
out there.
Cup. How old is Cooper Cup? He's gotta be like, yeah,
28.
28. Get out of here. He's like 100 years old in Dynasty.
Yeah, so for me, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Debo Samuel.
Nice, nice. All right. I just thought it was a good conversation to
It
have,
is.
you know.
It is. So
Um,
six is where I got him.
Nice, nice, nice. All right. Well, IDP Army and Underdog fam, this has been the Underdogs. Do us a big favor, subscribe to the show or the channel. Do us another big favor, hit the thumbs up button, head down into the comments section of the show description, click on the link for the podcast. We have a podcast version of the show if you're finding it on YouTube. If you want to play with us on Underdog, click the link in this description as well. Get signed up. Fantasy football season is slowly chipping away. It is week 11, double digits. We're getting deep. The off season's coming, but Underdog is always going to be there for you for the weekly fantasy football, and that's what we do here. That's what the purpose of this show is. It's weekly fantasy football. You don't have to just because you're getting your ass kicked by your buddies from high school. You can go be an underdog somewhere else and get a W. So we're going to help you do that. We're going to cover the Underdog platform. And in the offseason, we are going to do the best ball millionaire draft, and we're going to be millionaires this time next year because we're going to draft that perfect team. All right. And you're going to join with us, and you'll finish second, third, fourth, wherever. We don't care. We'll be number one. But we love you guys. Appreciate it. Dave, what do you got to say to the people?
Thanks for tuning in. We will catch you next week. And if you want to look at something pretty fun, I did tweet this out today. Didn't tag Underdog in it, so you got to dig a little bit. But I tweeted the list of players on Underdog that I have more than 25% exposure on this year, and that was a fun little dig, kind of going through there and looking at the guys that I was heavy on this offseason. Couple misses, couple big hits, but it's fun to go back and revisit that.
Yeah, dude, injuries completely devastated. I went hyper fragile on quite a few teams, and it's just I'm not doing that next year. Let's put it that way. You
Chris
got to
Carson.
make it
Chris Carson
through.
was my number one guy.
You got to make it through the season. I have
Yep.
so many teams that were just dead in the water from week 2, 3 on. They're just done, and it's just like that was a roster construction thing. So we'll work through this together. And like I said, this time next year we'll all be millionaires. So until next time, we appreciate you, Underdog fam. Good luck in week 11, and we will get you out of here.